Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Jim Kleiber Show. If you are watching live or you are seeing the video, you may notice that my beard looks a little shorter at the bottom. I am starting to experiment with the beard trimming. I think it has been long enough for us to go through this pandemic, and I don't see the end in sight. Hopefully Joe Biden will be the president, and that means we will go in a different direction in the country. There was recent news that a vaccine by Pfizer may be over 90% effective. So that's a good sign. We don't know how long the effectiveness will last. And unfortunately, we also lost Alex Trebek. So this weekend had a lot of transitions. And I think it's a good time to start trimming up the beard. Of course, I also had a good friend of mine yell at me and basically say, "You need to get a haircut. You need to trim the beard." Fine. I mean, I was going to do it anyways, but it's always nice to have a friend kind of give you that swift kick. The problem with the beard is that these little ends near the corners of my chin were growing out a lot longer than the one in the middle. And this is not something I learned when I heard about when I was thinking about growing a beard, that things would grow in at different speeds. So the problem was this part in the middle wasn't growing and the ends were, and it gave me a little like horned beard look. So trying to trim it up. This is phase one. We'll go through multiple phases of the beard transition. Today, I don't really know what to talk about. It's interesting. I have taken Twitter on my phone, and I've used Apple iPhones have an option for screen time, which means you could set time limits for using certain apps. And so I basically set a time limit of 1 minute per day to use Twitter. I noticed I was going into Twitter and, as they call it these days, doom scrolling, or just kind of going in and scrolling and looking. And sometimes if I tweeted and responded, then things would get even faster. And I noticed that my life was just speeding up in a way. If I was texting with somebody when they didn't respond while I was waiting, I would switch over to Twitter and I would just scroll. There was always something new. And, I'd be watching a TV show and a commercial would come on and, pull out the phone, look at Twitter, what's happening, what's new. I felt it almost being this compulsive response to check what was happening in the world. And a long time ago, I built iFeelio specifically to not have that compulsion to check Twitter and Facebook, but to check more in with ourselves and see how we were doing. So I decided again to put on this screen time limit. So just, Apple also has a feature where, it puts the time limit of, you can put it at whatever minute amount you want or hour amount you want. I chose 1 minute, which is basically nothing per day. And then when I click on it, it says it's restricted. And if I want to look at it more, it says you can ask for more time. And I'll typically ask for maybe 15 more minutes. So then I'm almost gauging. I'm aware of how much time I'm spending on the app. The side effect of not spending as much time on Twitter is that I don't really know as much about what's going on in the world. And as the show was about current events and trying to connect it with emotions, I don't know too much, which feels freeing in a way, but also gives me this somewhat of a blank slate coming into the talk, not sure what to talk about. I guess the one thing I did see on Twitter in the 15 minutes that I looked at it today was that Joe Biden has announced a new chief of staff, this guy named Ron Klain. And apparently Ron Klain was the former chief of staff for Biden, if I'm correct. But he also was the head of the White House Ebola response team and I think he put out a video earlier this year about him explaining what the response team was and kind of the situation of pandemic response in the U.S. on a whiteboard. And I am so excited to think that someone with that expertise and experience is going to be in such a high position in the government. Oh, I'm so excited for this situation to turn around. There are a lot of people who say, oh, no, we need to fix the economy. Trust me, I agree. I just don't think it's possible unless we start addressing the underlying virus that's damaging the economy. I mean, there are places in the US right now where they're pulling in refrigerated morgues in a way. Basically like semi-truck, like containers to house people who are dying because people are dying at such a quick rate. It's supposedly right now, I mean, looking at the stats, it's worse than it was in March, and it's worse throughout the whole country. In March, it was pretty much concentrated in New York, New Jersey, Michigan, and some other places. But the main part being like New York, New Jersey. But now it's spread throughout the country. There's a new tool that just came out yesterday. I think it was through Georgia Tech. And it shows a map of the US. It also has one for, I think, some parts of Europe, Western Europe. But just for example, in the US, it shows a county by county map of the likelihood of encountering a person who has COVID-19, who is positive with COVID-19, in a group of multiple sizes. So say, for example, you can go on there and you can look for your county, and you could tweak the variable of group size all the way from 10, I think it goes all the way up to 5,000, and you can do it in different levels. 10 is kind of like the dinner party size, I guess. And so if you put it at 10, for example, if you go to the map for your county, it'll show the percentage chance of finding someone at that event of 10 people that is currently positive for COVID-19. And I think for a party of 10 in my county or the counties around me, it's like 15 or 17% chance of finding someone at that party out of the 10 people who is positive with COVID-19. And that's crazy. And then you ramp it up from 10, you go up to, if you go up to 50, which is maybe the size of a small restaurant or bar, and the percentage is huge. I mean, there are some places, I think in North Dakota, South Dakota, where I think it said for a group size of 50, the odds of finding a person in that group who has, at least one person in that group who has COVID-19 at the moment is like 99%. Like, I think it was for 50. But as you increase the size of the group, it's even more likely. And I'm not sure if the math that they're using is similar to this, but it reminded me of how if you're in a group, like a classroom of a certain size, say like 100 people, I don't know what the exact number is, but it's like if you're in a group of like 100 people, it's almost certain that 2 people in the room will have the exact same birthday, not the birth year, but like the birthday. And it's crazy. We don't think about that mathematically. A lot of us, myself included, don't understand some of these principles or intuitions underneath math. But yeah, it's that idea that it can be a lot more likely than we think it is. And so thinking, okay, I'm just going to go to the one restaurant, it's not a big deal. Well, if you're in a restaurant, you're not wearing a mask, and most people aren't wearing a mask because it's hard to wear a mask and eat. And it's a certain size, and depending on how the air moves, there's a good chance there's going to be at least one person in there who has COVID-19 at the moment. And just got to get lucky that the air patterns are not, blowing in your face, or the person is not close to you. I like the tool because it helps to show the relative risk in group size and also in location. And I think it updates over time. And I guess what I like about this in general is just there are people who understand these things a lot better than I do. And I'm excited that they are leading the charge. There have been a lot of people in private business and in private organizations who have been doing this. I guess I am just so excited and relieved that the people in the government will get more respect from the leadership of the government and actually be put into leadership positions, and sounds like we'll be able to make many leadership decisions and leadership communications. And maybe a lot of people knew. Maybe, it comes down to an issue of trust. And I wonder if there are a lot of people who, it's not that they don't trust the experts in terms of their competence. They don't trust the experts in terms of their intentions. And I think this happens a lot when people can look at maybe the liberal or the Democratic or the more college-educated population, or the white collar, or whatever you want to call it, and look and say, yes, I know these people are smart, but are they using these skills to try to screw me over or not? And I wonder if a lot of the distrust that we have towards that some people have towards the mainstream media, and some people have towards the FBI, that some people have towards Dr. Anthony Fauci, and some people have towards these individuals. I wonder if it's less of the, I don't think you have the skill, the capability aspect of distrust, and more of the, I think you do have the skills, but either you don't care, like you are against me, or you don't care about me at all. You don't know I exist. And so I wonder why so many people would not be excited for somebody like a Dr. Anthony Fauci or a Ron Klain to have more leadership responsibility. It's like this is many of them have been studying their whole careers, their whole lives, waiting for moments like these so that they can come in, they can act, and they can help society. Like it's not even like the Super Bowl. Maybe it'd be like the Olympics, where somebody has been training their whole life for this one opportunity, and now the opportunity is here. It presents itself and needs somebody with their skills. And then some people are like, nah, we don't want them. We want the newcomer. No. I want the person who's been training their lives for this moment. That's who I want to lead this country in this moment. I want the ones who are experts, who are, it's when you watch gymnastics at the Olympics, it's like, wow, look at how many flips that person did. I can't even do a somersault. Why do we want someone who can't do a somersault participating in the Olympic competition? I want someone who is tumbling and twisting and doing all these things and it looks like they do it effortlessly. That's who I want to lead us through a pandemic. Someone who has these skills and they know them so deeply that not only can they do them, they can explain them to other people very simply. And I think that's why I've admired the work so much of Dr. Fauci. He's been doing this for so long and well, and preparing for moments like these. And I think he has handled a lot of it with just intense grace. And again, very clear communication, I feel very confident when I listen to him. I feel very clear and understanding. It's just, I don't know. So I'm excited for people who have those skills and competences to be in charge of these programs and to be respected by the President of the United States. Because I guess I don't have, so I believe in their ability, and I also believe in their intention. I don't think a Dr. Fauci or this Ron Klain is going to get in there and try to screw over people and destroy the economy. Like, I don't think that at all. Like, I really don't think that. Especially Ron Klain, if he worked with the Ebola response and was helping out with the Ebola that was going on in West Africa. I mean, I was living in Oakland, California at the time, and had a friend of mine who was from Liberia and had many friends and family over there who were really suffering with Ebola. And I'm sure knew many people who died. It was horrible. And yet the countries came together and had a very strong response, I believe. And were able to get it under control, not only in West Africa, but in other parts of Africa. Congo as well, I think. And it just gives me hope that someone who has worked on a lot of these epidemics, these pandemics, these viral outbreaks can say what he or she believes without worrying that they're going to upset the person in charge. They can speak freely. That's an interesting topic. A lot of people talk about, oh yeah, we want freedom. A lot of people who supported Trump, oh, we want freedom, we want freedom, oh, we want freedom. Imagine working for the man. Do you think you have freedom to say what you believe and what you want? No way. Arguably, maybe this is why they want freedom so much, is because in their little group, they're not allowed to say what they actually believe if it differs from what people in their group believe. I mean, for the one thing with the Democratic or the more liberal side of the politics in the U.S., people say whatever they want. Like, there's not a lot of, I mean, okay, yes, there's some self-censoring, but in many ways, there's a lot of division because people are standing up and saying what they believe and what they want. Sometimes standing up and saying what we want leads to a lot of conflict. And looking at the more Republican side of the more conservative side of politics in the U.S. right now, there seems to be a lot of groupthink. And I wonder, when people are saying, oh, we want more freedom, I wonder if it means they want to feel more free to say what they actually want to say. That may contradict with what Donald Trump is saying. I mean, President Trump said, if he says one thing and then people contradict him, he often will come up and shame them and belittle them and call them a name and fire them or put them in a position where they don't have as much decision-making power. It doesn't look like an environment where people can speak their minds. And that's just within the government, but even in the public. So on Twitter, if somebody's on his team and they stand up and say something against him, will he stand for that? Or will he unleash his fury on these people and attack their credibility and try to kick them out of society? I don't know. I'm excited for an administration that doesn't all agree on how to move forward. I'm excited for conflict within the administrative branch, the executive branch, and maybe it doesn't have to be outward conflict all the time, but at least to have internal conflict where people are debating and discussing and deliberating and come to a resolution before they come out, instead of just one person making the calls or decisions, or it seems like one person making the calls or decisions, and then everyone just getting in line. Have you ever been in a relationship or been in a company where one person made all the decisions and you were afraid to say what you were really thinking or feeling because you didn't want to get made fun of, especially if the person was near the top? If you stand up and you say something different, that person might humiliate you in front of everyone else because that person holds the microphone, that person holds the power. They call it like a yes person, a yes man, the people who say yes, 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 even when they don't want to. I think many of us do this. I think many of us have a tendency to feel very afraid to say no to someone. And I think some environments make that more risky than others. So if I say no to somebody and I know that person is still going to accept me and love me and value me, I may feel confident saying no. If I think about saying no to that person and I think that they're going to, even if I say no in a very kind way, if I think that they're going to lash out, not only at me, but do it publicly in front of everyone else, either in the organization or on the internet, and really seek revenge on me and try to destroy my credibility because I stood up against them. I will be almost mortified to say something. And I wonder if that's what's going on with a lot of especially with a lot of the Republican senators in Congress, Congress people, congressional members of Congress, is maybe that fear of saying what they really believe and what they really want and what they're really thinking. The fear that Trump or Sean Hannity or somebody else in that kind of sphere will humiliate them and will seek vengeance to destroy them in kind of a mob justice mentality. Not to destroy, maybe the fear of being taken to court or something like that, but much more likely the fear of kind of PR retribution, public relations retribution, or communication retribution. And I can imagine that might be terrifying. If you think about being a politician, I think being a politician, your success relies on your credibility and your trust. Really, it's about how much people believe in you, not the tool, not the product, not the company, not you. Same thing with being a celebrity, like an actor or something like this. A lot of the trust gets embodied in that person. And so I can imagine one of the most terrifying things would be to have somebody with so much power and attention and such a large microphone attacking your credibility, making people lose trust in you. Making people think you don't care about them. You know, my friend James Angelo said that that many people in Congress really disliked the NRA. And he said, but some of the people that disliked the NRA the most were actually the Republican members of Congress. Because, again, if they came out and spoke up against the NRA could destroy their reputation, their credibility. They would pay money to competitors in political races to run attack ads to destroy their credibility, to find as much dirt as they possibly could on the person, to look up everything in their past and try to find when they did something either racist or sexist or ageist or whateverist, and use it to destroy the credibility of that person. So they don't speak up against the NRA. It seems simple, right? Many of us have a hard time speaking up in general, even when the consequences are maybe just one-on-one consequences. But when somebody has the capability of ruining our reputation on such a large level, often, I would say more often than not, with social media these days, it can really make us feel stuck, caged, unfree. So I know this conversation has taken a turn, but I really like this idea of freedom and how freedom to speak, freedom of speech can get very hindered when we are afraid of the reaction that other people have, how people will respond to that freedom of speech. So yes, we are free to say what we want. However, people are free to respond in the way that they want. And if I say something that may be perceived as an attack, and then maybe I say it to one person, but now in person, like if I were to physically attack somebody, I punch somebody, that person may punch me back. Maybe if we're in a bar and they have a couple friends there, they'll, a couple people punch me back. Maybe 3 people will start punching me. But on the internet, I can say one thing to one person, and the thing is that there's so many people watching that many of those people may join in. So maybe one punch to one person, but now I have 5,000 people punching me back, and punching me back in front of 1 million people perhaps. And so it can really damage a lot of the reputation. If I lose a fight, like a fist fight, one-on-one, maybe there's If it's just me and the other person, fine, I'll feel bad. If I lose it and there's lots of people, there's 50 people around, I'll feel quite humiliated. But if I lose it and there's 1 million people watching, I could feel really, really bad. So just imagine how some of these fights are playing out and how afraid we can be to stand up if we think that the other person has 1 million people on their side that are willing to attack viciously to defend that person. It reminds me of, I gave a speech in 2018 in Egypt about emotional leadership. And I was telling a story about an ex-girlfriend and how I thought she had cheated on me. And then how I was going to seek revenge by going to, when she was going to come to a hotel, like a couple hours from me, I was going to go see her and say, oops, I forgot something in the car, go downstairs and drive home 4 hours without saying a word. And I used her name in the talk because it was supposed to be just in front of a small group. And then when I realized it was going to be on the internet, I freaked out. Oh no, did I portray her in a bad light? I didn't really want to portray her in such a bad light. I was trying to portray myself in a bad light. And I talked with her afterwards, and she said, one of the main problems is that everybody likes you. They're going to team up against me. And I was like, what? Really? No. And so it made me more aware of how sometimes we can yield a lot of power, and not even in our ability ourselves, but just there can be many, many people out there who want to defend and protect us. And so that if somebody attacks us, a lot of times these people will jump in and attack them, even if we don't want them to. And I think we've seen this happen quite a few times on Twitter and other platforms where somebody will make fun of somebody like Beyonce or somebody who's got like a really large following. And then the followers will immediately jump in and attack that person. And then the celebrity will come out and say, hey, tone it down. Like, why? No, please don't attack that person anymore. They've got more than they deserve. Like, please stop being so vicious to this person. So, yeah, I wonder how many people who supported Trump or who still support Trump are afraid that if they come out and say that they're excited to have someone like Ron Klain, somebody with the experience with Ebola response, being the chief of staff for the new president, that Trump himself may come after them, or just the army, the large group of people who want to defend the president will come out and attack them. Oh, you're a traitor, it's like, whoa. I just think it's a good idea to have somebody who understands pandemic response to be in charge of pandemic response. I mean, it's just me. And I wonder if this hinders their willingness to come out and say that Joe Biden won the election. The fear that they will be ripped apart by the people that they thought were their friends. They thought they were on their same team. When we talk about being united, I don't think united means we all have the same perspective. I think united means we're all on the same team no matter what happens. That's the lesson I learned from playing sports growing up. I did not agree with all the people on my team. I did not like all the people on my team. I didn't like how they treated me. I didn't like how they looked at me and stuff like this. How they, made fun of me sometimes for being the nerd. But regardless, they're still on my team. We still got to be on the same team. We still got to work together. We still got to try to win the game. We still got to play as if we're on the same team. And for me, that's what being united is about. And honestly, I think when we don't stand up and we don't say how we're feeling and we don't say what we're thinking, and we don't take the risk at making other people feel angry or hurt or confused, then we aren't actually united. We're just pretending to be united. We're not actually a very strong and bonded team. We're just people that are pretending to be on the same team, but it's very fragile because if something were to happen, the team could break apart immediately. And I think that's what we've seen a lot in terms of what's going on with a lot of the Trump administration, is that the team looks very strong and very united and very coordinated and everything like this. But then, people start leaving, people start getting fired, people start the team itself has transitioned so many times. There have been so many people who have left and come on and left and come on over the last 4 years. It blows my mind. Loyalty seems to be such a strong value in that community. In many of our communities, loyalty is a very strong value. But I don't think we get the unity. I don't think we get the loyalty by pretending to all be on the same page. And by having the fear, or not stepping into the fear of saying what we're really thinking and feeling. Because when we do that, we can actually create stronger bonds on the team. Otherwise, there's a lot of these bonds that look like they're slightly bonded. I mean, this can go into chemistry, but the difference between some are weak bonds and strong bonds, I think, if I'm getting my whole chemistry correct. But some bonds are much easier to break than others. And so this idea of having stronger bonds can hold the team together and allow it to go through a lot more conflict and strife. Whereas, So anyways, I just think in general, there's probably a lot of people out there who are excited that somebody like Ron Klain would be coming in, and yet may not say it. So I am a big proponent of free speech. I want people to say how they feel and say what they think, myself included. And yet I also understand that many times we can be really afraid to say what we're thinking and feeling because it could really hurt other people, or it can make them angrier, or put them in an emotional state that we don't want them to be in. And but in the end of the day, we end up self-censoring, and we can feel really angry and then demand freedom, even though it's us who's in control of whether we have freedom or not, whether we let ourselves do what we actually want to do. Okay. Anyways, enough talking for today. It's November 12th, and the sun is still shining. Goodness, going to go enjoy that. So hope you all take care, and maybe the beard will take a different shape soon. Be well.